Hello, and welcome to the definitive edition of English in Fluency, where we believe that learning a language should feel as natural, as rhythmic, and as essential as breathing. I am your host, Alex, and today we are embarking on a massive, comprehensive journey to change the way you listen to English forever. I want to start by sharing a secret about you. I know something that you might not even admit to yourself. I know that sometimes, when you are listening to a podcast, or watching a movie without subtitles, or standing in front of a native speaker, you feel a sudden, sharp moment of panic. It happens in a split second. It happens when you hear a word you do not know. Your brain stops. You freeze. You stop listening to the rest of the sentence because you are stuck on that one difficult word, obsessed with figuring it out. You start asking yourself, what did that mean? Was it important? Did I miss the key to the whole sentence? And while you are worrying about that one missing piece, the rest of the conversation floats away like a leaf on a river, and you get completely lost. It is a terrible feeling. It makes you feel small, confused, and isolated. It makes you want to quit. But I want to tell you something very important today. You do not need to understand every single word to understand the message. In fact, native speakers miss words all the time. Imagine you are in a loud, crowded restaurant. The plates are clattering, music is playing, and people are laughing at the next table. Your friend is talking to you from across the table. You practically cannot hear every syllable because of the noise. Maybe you miss 30% of the sounds coming out of their mouth. But do you panic? No. Do you stop the conversation? No. You still understand them perfectly. How do you do that? You use context. You use the situation. You use your logic. You use the expression on their face and the topic you were discussing 5 minutes ago. Today, we are going to practice exactly that. We are going to train your brain to act like a detective, filling in the blanks so you never feel lost again. We are going to move from being passive listeners who just let words hit their ears to active listeners who hunt for meaning. We are going to do this through a long, continuous, and detailed story. I want you to relax and just listen. Do not try to translate every word in your head into your native language. That is a trap. Just imagine the scenes. Picture the characters. Feel the emotions. If you miss a word, just let it go and keep following the flow. Our story follows a young man named Leo. Leo has just moved to a new, bustling metropolis where everyone speaks English. He is excited about this new chapter in his life, but he is also very nervous because he feels his English is only at an intermediate level. He is afraid of making mistakes. He is afraid of looking stupid. It is a crisp, chilly autumn morning. The sky is a piercing blue, and the leaves on the trees lining the avenue are turning beautiful shades of burnt orange and gold. Leo steps out of his apartment building, wrapping his wool scarf tighter around his neck against the cool breeze that nips at his nose. He has a mission today, a list of errands that he must complete to settle into his new life. He needs to go to the bank to open a local account. He needs to buy groceries for his empty kitchen. And then he needs to meet a new friend, Sarah, for coffee. His heart is beating a little fast, a rhythmic drum of anxiety in his chest. He walks down the busy street, immersing himself in the sounds of the city. He hears the heavy whoosh of the buses passing by, the distant sirens of emergency vehicles, and the chatter of people walking their dogs. He stops at a crosswalk, waiting for the red hand signal to turn into a walking figure. Next to him stands an elderly woman, wrapped in a thick beige coat, holding a small, energetic terrier on a leash. The dog barks happily at a pigeon pecking at a crumb on the sidewalk. The woman looks at Leo and smiles, her eyes crinkling at the corners. She says something to him. Leo is distracted by the traffic noise, and he only catches the words weather and biting. He misses the verb and the subject entirely. His instinct is to panic. He thinks, biting? Is the dog biting? Is she warning me? But then he looks at her face. She is smiling gently. She is shivering a little bit and pulling her coat collar up. He looks at the sky, which is bright but cold. He uses the context. She said, weather and biting. In English, biting cold is a common phrase. She is likely saying, the weather is biting today, isn't it? Or, there is a biting wind. Leo smiles back and simply says, yes, it really is quite cold. The woman nods in agreement, saying, winter is coming early. The light changes, and they walk across the street together. Leo lets out a breath of relief. He realized he did not need the exact grammar to make a human connection. He just needed the context of the cold wind, the shivering woman, and the pleasant tone of her voice. This is the first lesson of context. Look at the physical world around you. The weather, the location, and the body language tell you half the story before words are even spoken. Leo continues his walk, feeling a little more confident. He turns the corner and arrives at the bank. Banks can be intimidating places for language learners. They are quiet, formal, and full of specific vocabulary about money and rules. He pushes open the heavy glass door and walks inside. The air inside is warm and smells faintly of sanitizer and old paper. There is a security guard standing near the entrance, looking bored but professional. The guard points to a machine near the wall and says something very fast. Leo hears the sound ticket, but the rest is a blur of consonants. He freezes for a second. He thinks, did he ask me for a ticket? Do I need a ticket to enter? Like a movie theater? That does not make sense. Leo looks at where the guard is pointing. It is a small machine with a touch screen and a roll of paper sticking out. Other people are walking up to it, tapping the screen, and taking a small slip of paper with a number on it. Leo realizes immediately what the guard meant. He meant, please take a number ticket from the machine. Even though Leo missed the verb take and the adjective number, the visual context of the machine and the behavior of the other people explained everything. Leo nods to the guard, saying, thank you, and walks to the machine. He presses the button for new accounts, gets his ticket, number A45, and sits down on the waiting bench. This is the second lesson. Watch what other people are doing. If you are in a line and everyone is taking out their wallet, you know the cashier is asking for payment, even if you do not understand the phrase she uses. If everyone stands up, you stand up. Humans are social animals, and mimicking the group is a great way to survive when you don't understand the language. While Leo waits, he takes out his phone to check the time. He has 20 minutes before he needs to meet Sarah. He looks around the bank, observing the environment. He sees a teller talking to a customer at the counter. The customer, a man in a blue suit, looks frustrated. He is waving his hands and shaking his head vigorously. The teller looks calm and is typing on her computer. Leo tries to listen, sharpening his ears. He hears the customer say the words card and unauthorized. He misses a lot of the other words because the man is speaking angrily and quickly, running his words together. However, Leo catches the emotion. The man is upset. The words card and unauthorized together create a story. Unauthorized means not allowed. Card means credit or debit card. Leo guesses that the man has found a transaction on his card that he did not make. He has been hacked or his card was stolen. Then Leo hears the teller say, "Freeze" and "investigation." Again, Leo acts as a detective. If the problem is a stolen card, and the solution involves the words "freeze" and "investigation," then the teller is explaining that she will lock the account so no more money can be spent, and they will look into the problem. Leo feels a sense of accomplishment. He is understanding the situation not by translating every word, but by catching the key words: card, unauthorized, freeze, and connecting them with the emotion of the scene. Finally, Leo's number is called. A soft chime sounds, and a 45 flashes on the screen above counter number 3. He walks to the counter. The banker is a friendly, middle-aged man named Mr. Evans, wearing glasses and a name tag. Mr. Evans smiles and says, "Good morning. How can I help you handle your finances today?" Leo understands the greeting. He says, "I would like to open a bank account, please." Mr. Evans nods and starts pulling out some forms. Then Mr. Evans asks a question that confuses Leo. He asks, "Do you want a checking or a savings account, or perhaps a bundle?" Leo knows save, but he is not sure about checking or bundle. He hesitates. Mr. Evans sees that Leo is confused. He explains without Leo asking. He says, "Checking is for everyday spending, like groceries and rent. Savings is for keeping money for the future, to earn interest. A bundle is both." Leo understands immediately. The explanation provided the definition. He says, "I need checking for now, please." Then Mr. Evans asks, "Do you have a current proof of residence?" Leo knows the word current, meaning now, and he knows residence means home. But he is not sure what proof implies in this specific context. He hesitates again. Mr. Evans points to Leo's ID card on the table, and then makes a shape of a letter with his hands. He says, "Like a utility bill or a rental agreement." Suddenly, Leo understands. Proof means evidence. He needs to show a paper that proves he lives here. Leo reaches into his bag and pulls out his electric bill, which he brought just in case. Mr. Evans smiles and says, "Perfect. That will do just fine." Leo realizes that he did not need to know the dictionary definition of proof to succeed. He just needed to wait for the example. This is a crucial skill. Patience. If you miss a word, wait. Usually the speaker will give an example or explain it in a different way in the next sentence. After finishing at the bank, Leo feels much more confident. He walks out into the fresh air, buttoning his coat. He decides to stop at a supermarket before the coffee shop. He needs to buy some specific ingredients because he wants to cook a traditional meal from his home country tonight to comfort himself. He enters the supermarket. It is bright, colorful, and smells of baking bread and fresh fruit. He grabs a basket. He finds the vegetables easily. He finds the chicken. But he gets stuck in the baking aisle. He needs baking powder, but he only sees a box that says baking soda. He stands there, holding the orange box of baking soda, looking confused. A store employee is stocking shelves nearby. Leo approaches him. Leo asks, "Excuse me, is this the same as for making cakes rise?" He doesn't know the word leavening, but he makes a motion of a cake getting bigger with his hands. The employee looks at the box and shakes his head. No, buddy, that's soda. You want powder. Soda is stronger, needs acid. Powder is for regular cakes. It's right there, next to the vanilla. Leo hears stronger and needs acid. He doesn't understand the chemistry, but he understands no. He follows the employee's finger and finds the baking powder. He realizes that he communicated successfully using gestures and simple concepts. He didn't need the technical culinary terms. He just needed to describe the function of the object. Making cakes rise. This is another tool for your kit. Circumlocution. If you don't know the word for a thing, describe what the thing does. Leo pays for his groceries and heads towards the coffee shop, where he is meeting Sarah. The coffee shop, the daily grind, is bustling with energy. The smell of roasted coffee beans, cinnamon, and sweet pastries fills the air. There is the loud sound of steam hissing from the espresso machine, shh, and the clinking of ceramic cups against saucers. Leo spots Sarah sitting at a small round table near the window, reading a book. Sarah is a local. She speaks very fast, uses a lot of slang, but she is very patient and kind. Leo sits down and they exchange greetings. Sarah asks him how his morning was. Leo explains his trip to the bank and the supermarket. Then Sarah asks him what he wants to drink. She says, I am going to get a cappuccino. Do you want anything? It's on me. Leo hears, it's on me. He looks at her. She is reaching for her wallet. He realizes, on me doesn't mean the coffee is physically on her body. It means she is paying. It is an idiom. He smiles and says, that is very nice of you. Thank you. I will have a black coffee. Sarah stands up to order. She adds, do you want a pastry? They have great scones. Leo misses the word scones. He hears pastry. He looks at the glass display case. He sees muffins, croissants, and hard triangular biscuits. He assumes the triangles are scones. He says, no, thank you. I am not hungry. While Sarah is ordering, Leo looks out the window. He sees a bus stopping at the curb. A group of teenagers gets off, laughing and talking loudly. One of them drops a heavy textbook on the pavement. Another one picks it up and yells something that sounds like heads up. Leo cannot hear the words clearly through the glass, but he sees the body language. The boy is tossing the book back to his friend. The friend catches it, laughs, and gives a thumbs up. Leo understands the interaction completely, without hearing a single clear word. It was a friendly warning. Heads up means pay attention or catch this. This observation reminds Leo that communication is largely nonverbal. If you watch the movie of life carefully, the script becomes easier to understand. When Sarah comes back with the coffees, she looks excited. She puts the steaming cups down and leans in, her eyes wide. She says, Leo, you will not believe what happened to me yesterday. I was at the grocery store, and I ran into my old teacher from high school. Leo knows the phrase, run into, usually means to hit something with your body, like a car crash or bumping into a wall. But looking at Sarah's face, she looks happy, nostalgic, not hurt. She is not talking about a physical accident. Leo uses the context of the situation. Meeting a teacher at a store is a social event. So, ran into must mean met by accident or saw unexpectedly. He smiles and asks, was it a good surprise? Sarah says, yes, it was wonderful. We talked for ages. She hasn't changed a bit. As they drink their coffee, Sarah starts telling a longer, more complicated story. This is the ultimate test for Leo. Long stories are hard because there is so much information, and if you lose the thread, it is hard to get it back. Sarah starts talking about her landlord. She says, "My landlord is such a pain in the neck. The heater broke 3 days ago, and he keeps stalling on fixing it." Leo knows neck and pain. A physical pain in the neck is annoying and hurts. Sarah is using it to describe a person. So, her landlord is annoying. Then he hears stalling. He doesn't know this word, but he knows the heater broke 3 days ago, and it is still broken. So, stalling must mean waiting, delaying, or making excuses. Leo nods sympathetically. He says, "That is terrible. It is so cold now." Sarah replies, "Exactly. I'm shivering in my own living room. I might have to withhold rent if he doesn't get his act together." Leo hears withhold. He knows hold. He guesses she means she will hold the money and not give it to him. He feels a surge of pride. He is following a complex complaint story by focusing on the logic of cause and effect. After coffee, Leo and Sarah decide to go for a walk in the park nearby to enjoy the autumn leaves. The park is full of large, ancient oak trees, and there is a small pond in the middle. Ducks are swimming in the pond, leaving little V-shaped ripples in the water. Sarah points to a tree and says, "Look at that squirrel burying a nut." Leo misses the word burying. He looks at the squirrel. It is frantically digging a small hole in the ground with its front paws, placing a nut inside, and then covering the hole with dirt. Leo watches the action. The action defines the word. Burying means putting something in the ground and covering it. Leo thinks to himself, "This is actually quite fun. It is like a puzzle. Every time I miss a word, the world gives me a visual clue to solve it." They continue walking, and the path gets a little muddy because it rained heavily the night before. Sarah warns him, saying, "Watch your step. It is treacherous here." Leo hears, "Watch your step." He knows that means, be careful. He hears treacherous. He doesn't know it. It sounds dangerous. He sees the wet, slippery mud. He sees Sarah walking with tiny steps, balancing carefully. He puts it together. Treacherous in this context means dangerous, slippery, or unsafe. He slows down and walks with caution. They reach a wooden bench and sit down to rest. The sun is starting to set, casting a warm, golden glow over the park. Sarah turns to Leo and asks him a deeper, more personal question. She asks, "Do you ever feel homesick?" Leo knows home and sick. He puts them together. Sick for home. Missing home. He nods slowly. He says, "Yes, sometimes, especially when I smell certain foods." Sarah nods understandingly. She says, "I can imagine. When I lived abroad in Spain, I craved peanut butter every day. I couldn't find it anywhere." Leo does not know the word craved, but he connects it with the idea of missing home and specific foods. Craved must mean wanted very much, or missed eating. He replies, "I know that feeling. I want my grandmother's soup right now." The conversation feels deep and meaningful. Leo realizes that because he is not stressing about every single word, like treacherous or craved, he is able to focus on the emotion of the conversation. He is connecting with Sarah as a human being, not just as a language student. He feels a sense of pride. He is communicating. He is living in English. Suddenly, a loud, cracking noise interrupts them. It is thunder. The sky has turned dark very quickly, heavy purple clouds rolling in over the city. Sarah looks up and says, "Oh no, we better head back before it pours." Leo hears pours. He knows pour, like pouring water from a pitcher into a glass. He looks at the dark clouds and the thunder. He understands that pours here means rains very heavily. They both stand up and start walking quickly back towards the city center. The wind picks up, blowing dry leaves across their path. Sarah says, "I hope I didn't leave my windows open. My cat will be furious." Leo understands this perfectly. It is a common worry. They reach the subway station just as the first fat drops of rain start to fall. They run down the stairs, laughing. They are breathless, but dry. Sarah says, "That was a close call." Leo misses the phrase close call, but he understands the situation. They almost got wet, but they escaped just in time. So a close call must mean a situation where something bad almost happened, but didn't. He agrees, saying, "Yes, very close. We were lucky." Inside the subway station, it is warm and bright with fluorescent lights. They wait for their trains on the platform. Sarah's train arrives first. She turns to Leo and says, "It was so great to see you, Leo. Let's do this again soon." "Maybe we can try that new Italian place next time," Leo says. "Definitely. I would love that." Sarah steps onto the train and waves as the doors hiss shut. Leo stands there on the platform, feeling good. He survived a whole day of errands and socializing in English. He missed probably 50 words today. He didn't know biting, bundle, checking, produce, baking soda, leavening, scones, pain in the neck, stalling, withhold, burying, treacherous, craved, or close call. But it did not matter. He understood the weather lady, the bank guard, Mr. Evans, the grocery clerk, and his friend Sarah. He understood them because he used his eyes, his logic, and his patience. He realizes that fluency is not about knowing every word in the dictionary. Fluency is about flow. It is about keeping the river of communication moving even when there are rocks in the way. However, Leo is about to learn that the visual world is only one part of the challenge. What happens when you turn the lights off? What happens when you take away the visual safety net? This is where many learners panic and hang up the phone or turn off the podcast because they feel completely helpless without seeing the speaker's mouth moving. But Leo is about to discover that his brain is still a supercomputer capable of connecting dots even in the dark. It is a rainy Tuesday morning following the weekend. The sky is a dark shade of gray, and rain is tapping a steady, mesmerizing rhythm against Leo's bedroom window. Leo wakes up, stretches, and grabs his phone to check the news. But nothing loads. The browser bar just spins and spins. The little Wi-Fi icon at the top of his screen has disappeared. He sighs, frustrated. He walks into the living room and looks at his internet router sitting on the shelf. A red light is flashing angrily. Blink, blink, blink. He unplugs it and plugs it back in. He waits for it to reboot. It is still red. Leo knows what he has to do. He has to call the internet service provider. His stomach tightens into a knot. Calling customer service is annoying even in your native language. The waiting, the music, the menus, but in a second language, it feels like a nightmare. You have to navigate automated robots, listen to low-quality audio, and then speak to someone who is probably talking very fast, reading from a script, and sitting in a noisy call center. But Leo remembers his training. He remembers that he is a detective. He takes a deep breath, grabs a pen and a notebook, and dials the number on the back of the router. The first challenge is the robot. The automated voice is crisp and unnatural. It says, "Thank you for calling SpeedNet. For billing and account inquiries, press 1. For technical support and troubleshooting, press 2. To move or cancel your service, press 3. Leo catches the words billing and technical. He knows technical sounds like technology or fix. He presses 2. He feels a small victory. He did not understand the whole sentence, particularly inquiries or troubleshooting, but he caught the keywords. Now he is on hold. The music is a terrible, distorted jazz melody on a short loop. Leo uses this time to prepare. He thinks about what the person will ask him. They will ask for his account number. They will ask for his name. They will ask what the problem is. Leo writes down his account number on the paper in front of him. He writes down the phrase, "Internet is not working," and "red light." He is priming his brain. He is opening the mental folder labeled Technical Support. Finally, the music stops, and a real person answers. The voice is fast and sounds a little bit bored. The man says, "Thank you for holding. My name is Mark. Can I start with your account number, please?" Mark speaks so quickly that account number sounds like account number, but Leo is ready. He expects this question. He reads the numbers slowly and clearly. 4, 5, 7. Mark types them in. Then Mark asks, "So, what seems to be the trouble today?" Leo hears trouble. He knows trouble means problem. He says, "My internet is not working. The red light is flashing on the box." Mark says, "Okay, let me run a diagnostic check on the line. Please hold on a second." Leo misses the word diagnostic. It is a long, medical-sounding word, but he hears check and hold on. He waits. Silence on the line. Then Mark comes back. Mark says, "Okay, I cannot see your modem online. It looks like it's unresponsive. I need you to check the cables. Are they firmly plugged into the wall and the device?" Leo hears cables and wall. He misses firmly and device and unresponsive. But context is king here. Mark is talking about the physical connection. Leo crawls under the table. He looks at the router. He checks the wires. He pushes them in to make sure they are tight. He says, "Yes, they are okay. Everything is connected." Then Mark says, "All right, we need to power cycle the unit. I want you to unplug it from the power source, count to 10, and then plug it back in." Leo freezes. Power cycle. He has never heard this phrase. It sounds like a bicycle or an exercise machine. But then he listens to the rest of the sentence. Unplug it, count to 10, plug it back in. The instruction explains the difficult vocabulary. Leo realizes that power cycle is just a fancy technical way to say restart. He does it. He waits. The light flickers orange, then turns solid green. Mark asks, "How is it looking now? Do we have green lights?" Leo says, "Yes, it is green." Mark says, "Great, you are back online. Is there anything else I can help you with?" Leo understands the tone of closing the conversation. He says, "No, thank you." He hangs up. He lets out a huge breath. He survived. Leo misses the words troubleshooting, diagnostic, unresponsive, firmly, and power cycle. But by listening for verbs like unplug and wait, and by predicting what the man would ask, he understood the actions required. He solved the problem. Later that same afternoon, the rain has stopped, but the streets are still wet and reflecting the gray sky. Leo is back in his kitchen, making a simple lunch of sandwiches and tea. He is trying to relax, but his mind is focused on another challenge. He needs a part-time job to help pay for his rent and his language classes. A few days ago, he submitted an application to a charming, dusty local bookstore called City Books. He loves books, and he thinks it would be a quiet place to work. While he is spreading butter on his bread, his phone rings. It is an unknown number. Leo stares at it. His heart jumps into his throat. He knows this could be the employer. Answering an unknown number is terrifying because you have zero context. You don't know who it is, what they want, or how fast they will speak. But Leo takes a deep breath, clears his throat to make sure his voice is steady, and swipes the green button. A woman's voice speaks. She sounds professional, polite, but efficient. She says, "Hello, may I speak with Leo, please?" Leo says, "This is him." She says, "Hi, Leo. This is Ms. Clark from City Books. We received your application earlier this week, and we would like to schedule a brief phone interview if you have a moment right now." Leo hears the words interview and moment. His adrenaline spikes. He puts down his knife. He says, "Yes, I have time." He sits down at the kitchen table. He turns off the radio. He creates a quiet environment so he can focus entirely on her voice. He closes his eyes to block out the distraction of his messy kitchen. Ms. Clark starts with some basic questions that Leo expects. She asks, "Tell me a little about your experience with books. Are you a reader?" Leo answers this easily because he practiced his self-introduction in the mirror. He says, "Yes, I love reading. I read mostly fiction and history." Ms. Clark sounds pleased. Then she asks a harder, longer question. She says, "We are looking for someone who can handle a high volume of customers, especially during the upcoming holiday rush. It gets quite chaotic. How do you deal with pressure?" Leo catches the words pressure and customers. He misses the phrase high volume and holiday rush. However, he puts the clues together rapidly. Customers plus pressure equals a busy store. She is asking if he can work when the shop is crowded and stressful. He does not need to know that high volume means a large amount. He understands the core concept. He answers, "I am good under pressure. I worked in a busy cafe in my home country, so I am used to serving many people quickly." Ms. Clark says, "That is great to hear. Experience is always a plus." Then comes the trickiest part of the call. Ms. Clark asks about his availability. She says, "Our shifts are primarily in the evenings and on weekends, as that is when we are busiest. Are you amenable to working those hours?" Leo is completely stumped. Amenable. He has absolutely no idea what this word means. It sounds strange, almost like a religious word he heard once. He starts to panic. He thinks, did she ask me a question about religion? Or maybe a legal term? He feels the silence stretching out on the phone line. He knows he has to answer. He looks at the context. She mentioned evenings and weekends. She is asking a question about his schedule. In this context, she must be asking, "Can you work these hours?" Or, "Do you agree to these hours?" Therefore, amenable must mean agreeable or willing. Leo takes a calculated risk. He says, "Yes, evenings and weekends are fine for me. I am free then." Ms. Clark says, "Wonderful. That simplifies things." The context saved him. If he had panicked at the word amenable and said, "I don't understand," the conversation would have halted. But by assuming the question was logical, she states a time, she asks a question, the question must be about accepting the time. He found the answer. Then Ms. Clark asks one final question. She says, "We also require our staff to wear a uniform, which is a green polo shirt with our logo. Is that an issue for you?" Leo misses the word issue. He hears uniform and green shirt. He hears the rising intonation at the end of the sentence, which marks a yes-no question. The tone is polite and inquiring. He guesses she is asking if he has a problem with it, or if he agrees to wear it. He says, "That is no problem. I like green." Ms. Clark laughs a little bit. She says, "Excellent. We would like to invite you for an in-person trial next Monday at 10 a.m. You'll shadow one of our senior staff." Leo understands invite, and Monday, and 10 a.m. He writes it down frantically on his notepad. He says, "Thank you, Ms. Clark. I will be there." They say goodbye. Leo stares at his phone, his hand shaking slightly from the nerves. He just passed a job interview without knowing the words high volume, amenable, or issue. He realized that, in a professional call, the structure is very predictable. Question, answer. Question, answer. Proposal, agreement. By following the rhythm of the conversation, he could guess the function of her sentences even when the vocabulary was advanced. This brings us to a very important concept called tone and intonation. When you cannot see a face, the voice carries all the emotional data. In English, pitch is very important. If a voice goes up at the end, it is usually a question or a polite request. If the voice goes down, it is a statement or a command. If the voice is flat, it might mean boredom or seriousness. During the interview, Leo listened to Ms. Clark's pitch. When she asked about the uniform, her voice went up. "Is that an issue for you?" Even though Leo did not know the word issue, the rising pitch told him it was a question checking for agreement. Let's practice this right now. I am going to say a sentence with nonsense words, but I want you to guess the meaning based on my tone. Listen carefully. "Hey, did you see the flim-flam yesterday? It was amazing." Listen to my voice. It was high, energetic, and fast. Flim-flam must be something exciting, like a movie, a sports game, or a concert. Now listen to this one. "I am so sorry, but I cannot make it to the flim-flam. I have to work late." My voice is lower, slower, and sad. Here, flim-flam is an event or a meeting that I am missing. The tone tells you the relationship between the speaker and the word. In the first example, the relationship was excitement. In the second, it was regret. You can do this with real English words too. Without eyes, your ears must become sensitive to the music of the language, not just the lyrics. The stress of the phone call and the cold weather from the morning have started to affect Leo physically. By the evening, his throat feels scratchy and sore. He starts coughing. He realizes he needs some medicine before he starts his new job on Monday. He needs to go to the pharmacy. This is another high-stress environment for learners because health is important, and making a mistake feels dangerous. Leo puts on his coat again and walks 2 blocks to the local drugstore. The automatic doors slide open, and he is hit by the smell of antiseptic, cheap soap, and rubber. The fluorescent lights are very bright. He walks to the aisle labeled cold and flu. There are hundreds of boxes. Red boxes, blue boxes, green boxes, pills, syrups, capsules. It is overwhelming. He picks up a box and tries to read the back, but the print is tiny and full of chemical names like dextromethorphan. He sighs. He decides to ask the pharmacist. He walks to the counter at the back of the store. The pharmacist is a woman wearing a white coat, looking very busy typing on a computer. Leo waits until she looks up. "Hi," she says. "How can I help?" Leo points to his throat. He says, "I have a pain here and cough." The pharmacist nods efficiently. She asks, "Is it a dry cough or a chesty cough?" Leo stares at her. He knows cough. But he does not know chesty. He knows chest is a body part. He touches his chest. The pharmacist sees his confusion. She doesn't explain with words, she explains with sound. She coughs loudly and makes a deep, rattling, wet sound in her chest. Hack, hack. Then she coughs lightly. A ticklish sound in her throat. Hack, hack. She points to the first one and says, chesty? Then the second one and says, dry? Leo understands immediately through her demonstration. The chesty cough sounded deep and wet. The dry cough sounded like a tickle. Leo realizes his cough is just a tickle. He points to his throat and coughs lightly. Dry, please. She nods and reaches for a bottle of yellow syrup. She places it on the counter. She says, take this. 2 teaspoons every 6 hours. Be careful. It might make you drowsy, so don't drive. Leo catches the word drowsy. He does not know it. He looks at the bottle. It has a small picture of a moon and stars on the label. The pharmacist mentioned don't drive. Leo uses his logic. If you take it and you cannot drive, and there is a moon on the bottle, drowsy must mean sleepy or tired. He asks to confirm, will I sleep? The pharmacist nods. Yes, it knocks you out. Good for night. Leo buys the medicine. Once again, the context clues were everywhere. The sound effects the pharmacist made, the packaging of the product, the moon, and the advice about driving all pointed to the meaning of the unknown words. This is active listening. It is not just receiving sound, it is engaging with the information and looking for the logic. Leo returns home, takes his medicine, and decides to cook dinner. He chops vegetables for a stew. The apartment is quiet, so he turns on the radio again. This time, he doesn't listen to music. He finds a news station. Radio is pure listening practice. There is no interaction. You cannot ask the radio host to repeat himself. It is fast, and it is full of slang. Leo listens to the traffic report. The reporter speaks incredibly fast, like a machine gun. He says, we have a massive pileup on the I-95 southbound. Expect delays of 40 minutes. Best to take the scenic route if you can. Leo catches pileup and thinks of a pile of clothes. That makes no sense on a highway. But he hears delays and 40 minutes. He also hears avoid. The main message is clear. Do not go on that road. He does not need to know that a pileup is a specific term for a car accident involving multiple cars crashing into each other. He just needs to know the consequence, which is a delay. Suddenly, the radio show changes to a weather alert. The music becomes dramatic. The host says, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for the metro area until midnight. Please seek shelter and stay off the roads. Leo hears severe thunderstorm and stay off roads. He looks outside. It is raining again, harder this time. He realizes the radio is warning about the immediate future. He feels safe inside. He uses the radio as a tool for information gathering, filtering out the jokes and the ads, and just catching the nouns and verbs that affect his life. Listening to the radio is like mining for gold. You have to sift through a lot of dirt, words you don't know, to find the little nuggets of gold, the important information. As Leo eats his stew, the storm that the radio warned about arrives with full force. Thunder shakes the windows. Boom! Suddenly, the lights in his apartment flicker. Once, twice, and then go out. Total darkness. The refrigerator stops humming. The heater stops blowing. Leo sits on his sofa in the pitch black. Now he really has no visual clues. He can't see his apartment. He can't see his phone because he left it in the bedroom. He just sits in the dark and listens to the world. He hears the rain hammering against the glass. Tat, 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 tat. He hears the sirens of fire trucks in the distance. Wee-oo! He hears his neighbor walking upstairs. Thump, thump. He hears the wind whistling through the crack in the window frame. He realizes that sound tells him a story. The sirens tell him there is an emergency somewhere. The footsteps tell him his neighbor is home and safe. The rain tells him nature is powerful. He starts to think in English in the dark. He names the sounds. Siren, thunder, footsteps, creak, wind. This is a beautiful practice you can do. Lie in bed at night with the lights off and just listen. Try to name every sound you hear in English. It trains your ear to focus. It trains your brain to connect sound directly to meaning without the visual image. It helps you become comfortable with the blindness of listening. The weekend passes. Leo rests, takes his medicine, and practices his English by talking to himself in the mirror. Monday morning arrives, the day of the work trial at City Books. Leo wakes up early, dresses in a clean shirt, not green yet, as he doesn't have the uniform, and arrives at the bookstore at 9:55 a.m. The store smells of old paper, vanilla, and dust. It is a comforting smell. He meets the manager, a tall man named David. David is nice, but speaks very fast and gives many instructions at once. This is instructional listening. It is different from conversational listening because you have to remember a sequence of actions. David takes Leo to the cash register. He says, "Okay, Leo, here is the drill. When a customer comes up, you scan the book here. If the barcode doesn't work, you have to key in the ISBN manually. Then you ask if they have a loyalty card. If not, ask if they want to join. Then you bag the book, but don't put the receipt in the bag. Hand it to them. Got it?" Leo's head is spinning. Scan. Barcode. Key in. ISBN. Loyalty card. Bag. Receipt. It is a lot. He understood scan and bag. He is confused about key in. He asks, "Sorry, key in?" David points to the number pad on the keyboard. "Type the numbers," David says. Leo nods. "Ah, type. Okay." A customer approaches. It is a young student buying a textbook. Leo scans the book. Beep. It works. He feels relief. Then he remembers the next step. "Do you have loyalty card?" The student says, "No." Leo remembers the next instruction. Ask if they want to join. But he forgets the exact words. He improvises. "Do you want to make one?" The student understands. "No thanks." Leo nods. He takes the money. He puts the book in a paper bag. Then he puts the receipt in the bag too. David steps in gently. "Leo, remember, hand the receipt to them. If they want to return it, they need the receipt, and they might throw the bag away." Leo nods quickly. "Sorry." Hand the receipt. He takes the receipt out of the bag and hands it to the student. "Here is your paper." The student smiles and leaves. Leo made a mistake. He forgot one detail, but he survived. He realized that listening to instructions is about identifying the verbs. Scan, ask, bag, hand. If you focus on the verbs, you know what to do. The nouns are just the objects you are holding. Throughout the morning, Leo gets better. He listens to David telling him how to shelve books. Fiction goes by author's last name. Nonfiction goes by subject. Leo repeats it to himself. Author, subject. Repeating instructions back to the speaker is a great way to confirm you understood. When David says, "Put the returns in the bin," Leo asks, "This bin?" pointing to a blue box. David says, "Yes." Verification is key. Never be afraid to point and ask, "This one?" It shows you are careful, not stupid. By lunchtime, Leo is exhausted but happy. He has successfully navigated a complex web of instructions. He goes to the break room and sits down. He realizes that the workplace is just a series of small, logical tasks. The language wraps around the tasks. If you understand the goal, sell the book, clean the shelf, the language becomes easier to predict. Now, I want to pause the story for a moment and talk about the emotional side of this journey. It takes courage to guess. Many English learners are perfectionists. They want to be 100% sure before they understand or speak. But perfectionism is the enemy of fluency. To be fluent, you have to be willing to be imperfect. You have to be willing to guess and maybe be wrong. Suppose Leo had guessed wrong at the pharmacy. Suppose drowsy meant hungry. He would have taken the medicine and felt sleepy and thought, "Oh, I was wrong. It means sleepy." And that is okay. You learn from mistakes too. But usually, your guesses will be right, because context is powerful. The world makes sense. People say things that fit the situation. If you trust that the conversation is logical, you can trust your guesses. Let's try a simulation together. I am going to describe a scene, and I want you to guess the meaning of a nonsense word I will invent. Ready? Imagine you are at an airport. You are standing at the check-in desk. You heave your heavy suitcase onto the scale. The airline worker looks at the digital number on the scale and frowns. She says, "I am sorry, sir. Your bag is too glorpul. You will have to pay extra or take some clothes out." What does glorpul mean? Think about the context. Airport, suitcase, scale, pay extra, take clothes out. Glorpul obviously means heavy or overweight. You did not need a dictionary. You used the situation. Let's try another one. You are at a dinner party. The host brings out a big steaming chocolate cake. Everyone says, "Wow, looks delicious." The host cuts a piece and gives it to you. You take a bite. You smile and say, "This cake is absolutely frastastic." What does frastastic mean? Everyone is smiling. It is cake. You ate it happily. Frastastic clearly means delicious, or wonderful, or good. See how easy that is? You are doing this naturally in your own language all the time. You just forget to do it in English because you are too focused on the grammar. Now let's go back to Leo. He finished his trial shift. David, the manager, comes over and shakes his hand. "Good job today, Leo. You pick things up fast. You're hired." Leo beams. "Thank you, David." He walks out of the store, now an employed man in this new city. He has conquered the bank, the pharmacy, the interview, and the workplace. But he knows the biggest challenge is still ahead of him. The challenge that every learner fears the most. The social group. One-on-one conversations like the interview or the bank are like playing tennis. The ball goes back and forth. You hit, I hit. It is controlled. But a group conversation, a dinner party, a bar, a lunch break, is like playing dodgeball. Balls are flying everywhere. People interrupt. People talk over each other. People tell jokes that rely on cultural knowledge you don't have. It is chaotic. Leo is invited to a dinner party by Sarah for the upcoming weekend to celebrate his new job. There will be 5 or 6 native speakers there. Leo is terrified. He thinks, "I will just sit there in silence. I will not understand the jokes. I will look boring." This fear is valid, but Leo is ready to apply his context skills to this final boss-level challenge. He spends the rest of the week preparing. He listens to more radio to get used to the speed. He watches a few popular TV shows because he knows people love to talk about TV. He is priming his brain for social topics. He is building his folder labeled Small Talk. Saturday evening arrives. Leo stands in front of a green door. He is wearing his best shirt and holding a bottle of wine. Inside, he can hear music and loud laughter. His heart is beating like a drum again. He thinks, maybe I should just go home. But he remembers the elderly woman at the crosswalk. He remembers the internet support guy. He remembers the pharmacist. He has survived everything so far. He rings the bell. Sarah opens the door. She looks happy and relaxed. She says, "Leo, you made it. Come in, come in. Let me introduce you to the gang." Leo steps inside. The apartment is warm and smells of lasagna, garlic bread, and red wine. There are 6 people sitting around a large wooden table. They are drinking wine and talking loudly. When Leo enters, they all look up and smile. Sarah says, "Everyone, this is Leo. He just started working at City Books." A man with a beard waves and says, "Hey, Leo, nice to meet you. I'm Dave. Grab a chair, man." Leo hears "grab a chair." He knows grab means take quickly or hold. He looks at the empty seat. He smiles and sits down. The first challenge of a group conversation is the noise. There is background music. There is the sound of forks hitting plates. And there are often 2 conversations happening at the same time. This is called the cocktail party effect. Your brain has to filter out the noise and focus on one stream of audio. It is exhausting for a learner. Leo decides to focus on Dave, the man who greeted him. Dave is telling a story to the woman next to him. Leo leans in to listen. Dave says, "So I was driving to work, and this guy cuts me off, and I was like, 'Are you kidding me?'" Leo misses the phrase, "cuts me off." He pictures a knife. He thinks, did he get stabbed? But that is too violent. He looks at Dave's hands. Dave is miming a steering wheel and then swerving his hands sharply to the left. Leo understands. "Cuts me off" means drove in front of him suddenly and dangerously. Leo nods. He is following. Then the woman laughs and says, "Oh, I hate that. Road rage is the worst in this city. People drive like maniacs." Leo knows road, and he knows rage, means extreme anger. Road rage. Angry driving. He files this new phrase away in his mental folder. He did not ask, "Excuse me, what does road rage mean?" He just listened to the context. The context was a story about bad driving and anger. The definition was built into the conversation. Suddenly, the topic changes. A woman named Jessica looks at Leo across the table and asks, "So, Leo, what do you do besides the bookstore?" This is a standard question. Leo is ready. He says, "I am a graphic designer, actually, but I am working at the bookstore to improve my English and meet people." Jessica's eyes light up. She says, "Oh, no way. My brother is a graphic designer too. He works for a big firm downtown. It is a dog-eat-dog world, though, isn't it?" Leo freezes. Dog-eat-dog. He has a horrific image in his mind of dogs eating each other. He looks at Jessica's face. She looks sympathetic and serious. She is not talking about animals. She is talking about business. If a business world is dog-eat-dog, it must mean it is competitive, aggressive, and ruthless. Leo takes a chance. He guesses the meaning. He says, "Yes, it is very competitive. You have to work hard to survive." Jessica nods and says, "Exactly." He is always stressed out. Leo feels a rush of adrenaline. He correctly interpreted a difficult idiom just by looking at the serious expression on her face and the context of working for a big firm. This is a major lesson for group listening. Idioms and slang are almost always metaphorical. If the literal meaning sounds crazy, like dogs eating dogs, or raining cats and dogs, or pulling someone's leg, then it is a metaphor. Stop thinking about the words, the animals, the legs, and think about the feeling. Is the feeling positive or negative? Is it intense or calm? Dog eat dog sounds intense and negative, so the meaning is intense competition. If someone says, "It was a piece of cake," and they are smiling and looking relaxed, it means it was easy. Trust the emotion, not the literal image. As the dinner continues, the conversation speeds up. They start talking about a popular TV show that everyone is watching. Leo has never seen this show. This is called a cultural gap. This is often harder than a language gap. They are saying names like Tony and Carmela. They are laughing about a scene involving ducks in a pool. Leo is completely lost. He has no context for ducks or Tony. He feels that familiar panic returning. He feels left out. He thinks, I should pretend I know what they are talking about. I should just nod and laugh. But he stops himself. Pretending is dangerous. If you pretend and they ask you a question, what did you think of the ending? You will be exposed. You will look foolish. Instead, Leo decides to use this as an opportunity. He waits for a small pause. He looks at Sarah and asks, "Sorry, I am lost. What show are you guys talking about?" The table goes quiet for a second. Leo feels nervous, but then Sarah smiles and says, "Oh my God, you haven't seen The Sopranos? It is a classic. It is about a mob boss who goes to therapy." Suddenly, Leo understands everything. Mob boss. Therapy. That explains the jokes. The group immediately starts explaining the plot to him. They are excited to share. Leo realizes that admitting he didn't know was actually a good social move. It gave the group a chance to teach him something. People love explaining things. It makes them feel smart and helpful. So if you are lost because of a cultural reference, do not fake it. Just ask. Say, "I don't know that movie," or "I don't know that singer." It keeps you in the conversation instead of pushing you out. After dinner, the group moves to the living room for coffee and dessert. The vibe changes. It becomes more relaxed, softer. The lighting is dimmer. People sink into the plush sofas. Dave, the man with the beard who spoke about road rage earlier, starts telling a funny story about his wedding day. He says, "Man, everything was going wrong that day. The flowers were late. The band was drunk. I was freaking out. I almost got cold feet." Leo hears cold feet. He looks at Dave's feet. Dave is wearing thick wool socks because he took his shoes off at the door. Leo thinks, is he talking about his socks? Is the heating off? But Dave continues, "But then my best man gave me a pep talk, told me to breathe, and I realized I loved her, and I was just scared." Leo analyzes the phrase "cold feet" again. Dave was freaking out. Things were going wrong. He almost... What? He almost ran away. He almost canceled the wedding. So, cold feet must mean fear of commitment or nervousness before a big event. The group laughs warmly. Leo laughs too. He understands the human emotion of being nervous before a big moment. He feels connected to Dave's story, even though he is translating the idioms in real time. He realizes that idioms are just stories condensed into 2 words. Then something interesting happens. One of the guests, a quiet man named Mike, who hasn't said much, turns to Leo. Mike asks, "You know, your English is really good. How long have you been here?" Leo blushes. He feels shy. He says, "Thank you." but I make many mistakes. I have only been here a few months." Mike shakes his head and says, "Wow, I lived in France for 2 years, and I could barely order a baguette without sweating. You are doing great." The group nods in agreement. This moment is important. It validates Leo. It reminds him that native speakers are usually impressed by effort. They do not expect perfection. They know how hard it is to learn a language. This lowers Leo's anxiety. He realizes he doesn't need to be perfect. He just needs to be present. Let's pause the story and talk about the strategy of the anchor word. In a fast group conversation, you will miss 50% of the words. That is a fact. Accept it. Do not try to catch every word. Instead, try to catch the anchor word. The anchor word is the main noun or verb that the conversation is revolving around. Leo uses this strategy 10 minutes later, when the conversation turns to politics. Politics is very hard because the vocabulary is complex and specific to the country. They are talking about taxes, the new mayor, and zoning laws. Leo does not know the words for zoning or municipal, but he hears the words mayor and unhappy and ridiculous. He realizes the group is complaining about the city government. Mayor is the anchor. Unhappy is the emotion. He does not try to debate the tax law. He simply listens and nods. At one point, Sarah looks at him and says, "It is crazy, right?" Leo simply agrees based on the group's emotion. He says, "Yes, it sounds complicated." That is a safe and perfect answer. He acknowledged the situation without getting into details he didn't understand. He survived the politics discussion by holding on to the emotional anchor of unhappy with mayor. As the night winds down, the group starts using more slang. They have had some wine, they are tired, and they are relaxed. Sarah stands up and stretches. She says, "Guys, I am so tired. I think I am going to hit the hay soon." Leo imagines hitting some dry grass in a barn. He looks at the clock. It is 11 p.m. She looks tired. She yawned. Hit the hay must mean go to sleep. Leo smiles and says, "Yes, it is getting late." Another guest, Jessica, stands up and says, "Yeah, I better bounce too. I have a yoga class early tomorrow." Bounce, like a ball. But she is picking up her purse and putting on her coat. Bounce must mean leave. Leo is on fire now. His brain is making connections faster and faster. He is not translating into his native language anymore. He is translating from situation to meaning. This is fluency. Fluency is not knowing the dictionary definition that bounce means to jump up and down. Fluency is seeing a woman put on a coat and understanding that bounce means leave in that specific moment. When Leo leaves the party, he walks out into the cool night air. The rain has stopped completely. The stars are out, twinkling above the city skyline. He feels exhausted but happy. His brain is tired. It feels like he just ran a marathon. And he did. He ran a cognitive marathon. But he feels a sense of triumph. He walked into a room of native speakers, and he survived. He made jokes. He understood stories. He learned about the sopranos. He learned about cold feet and hitting the hay. He realizes that he is no longer just a student of English. He is a user of English. He belongs in the city. I want you to think about Leo's journey. He started by being afraid of a simple bank transaction on a Monday morning. He ended by laughing at a dinner party on a Saturday night. What changed? His vocabulary didn't double in 6 days. His grammar didn't become perfect overnight. What changed was his mindset. He stopped trying to hear words and started trying to hear messages. He stopped looking at his feet and started looking at the world. He stopped fearing mistakes and started seeing them as clues. This brings us to the most important lesson of this entire series. Context is not just a trick. Context is how humans communicate. We do not speak in dictionaries. We speak in pictures, emotions, and shared experiences. When you learn to listen for context, you are learning to listen with empathy. You are trying to understand the person, not just the sentence. So, how can you practice this dinner party listening if you don't have a dinner party to go to? I have a great exercise for you. It is called the talk show method. Go to YouTube and find a talk show. Something like The Tonight Show, The Graham Norton Show, or Ellen. These shows are perfect because they feature a host and guests sitting on a couch, talking over each other, laughing, and telling stories. It is a simulated dinner party. Here is how you do it. First, watch a 5-minute clip without subtitles. I know it is scary. Do it anyway. Just watch the faces. Who is happy? Who is embarrassed? Who is telling the joke? Who is the listener? Second, listen for the anchor word. What is the topic? Is it a movie? A holiday? A funny accident? A childhood memory? Just find the noun. Third, pick one idiom or slang phrase you didn't understand. Rewind and look at the reaction of the audience. Did they laugh? Did they gasp? Did they clap? Use that reaction to guess the meaning. Finally, write down that phrase and check it. See if your guess was right. You will be surprised how often you are right. Another exercise is the eavesdropper. If you live in an English-speaking country, or if you are in a tourist area, go to a cafe. Sit down with a coffee and a book. But do not read. Listen to the table next to you. Do not be creepy. Don't stare at them. Just listen. Try to figure out their relationship. Are they friends? Are they a couple? Are they colleagues? What are they talking about? Are they complaining about work? Are they planning a trip? This is real-world, unfiltered practice. It is messy and fast. But if you can catch the gist of a stranger's conversation in a loud cafe, you are ready for anything. I want to address one final fear before we finish. The fear of asking, "What?" Many students feel that asking someone to repeat themselves is a sign of weakness. It is an admission of failure. But let's look at it differently. When you ask, "What?" or "Sorry, I missed that," you are showing that you care. You are showing that you want to understand. If you just nod and smile when you don't understand, you are actually being rude. You are breaking the connection. You are lying to the other person. Real fluency includes the ability to repair a conversation. Here are 3 phrases you can use instead of just saying, "What?" which can sound a bit blunt. Number 1. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that last part. This is polite and soft. Number 2. Wait, are you saying that? And then repeat what you thought you heard. This is the verification technique we talked about at the bookstore. Number 3. I'm not familiar with that expression. What does it mean? This is honest and shows you are a learner. Native speakers love this. They will slow down and explain it to you, usually with a smile. Use these phrases. They are your safety net. They allow you to be brave because you know you can always pause the game if it gets too fast. Let's take a little more time to really solidify this because I want you to walk away with 0 doubts. I want to give you a few more tools for your detective kit specifically for those awkward moments when context fails. Because sometimes it does. Sometimes a person is telling a joke, and you have no visual clue, and the audio is bad, and you just don't get it. What do you do then? Leo actually had a moment like this at the party too. I didn't mention it earlier, but it is important. Towards the end of the night, Dave told a joke that relied on a pun. A pun is wordplay. He said, "I'm on a seafood diet. I see food, and I eat it." Everyone roared with laughter. Leo was confused. He heard seafood, like fish and shrimp. He didn't understand why seeing food and eating it was funny. He looked around. Everyone was laughing. He realized there was no visual context that could help him. This was a linguistic trick. In this moment, Leo had two choices. He could freeze and feel stupid, or he could just smile and enjoy the laughter of the group. He chose the second option. He smiled. He didn't laugh falsely, but he smiled. He appreciated the joy in the room. Later, when things quieted down, he asked Sarah quietly, "I didn't get Dave's joke about the diet." Sarah explained, "Seafood sounds like seafood. It is a play on words." Leo groaned and laughed. "Ah, I get it now. The lesson here is that you don't have to understand everything in real time. It is okay to understand on a delay. It is okay to ask later. It is okay to just let the moment pass. Do not let one missed joke ruin your night. Do not let one missed sentence make you feel like you are failing. You are not a computer that needs to process 100% of the data to function. You are a human being. 80% is enough. 70% is enough. Sometimes even 50% is enough if you are smiling and kind. Think about how you listen in your native language. Do you hear every word? No. If your friend is mumbling, or if the TV is low, or if a motorcycle drives by, you miss words too. But you don't panic. You don't think, "Oh my God, I am forgetting my own language." You just fill in the blanks automatically. You are doing the same thing in English. You just need to stop judging yourself for it. The anxiety is the problem, not the listening. I want you to visualize your brain like a net. If the net is tight and tense, it is small. You catch very little water. If the net is relaxed and loose, it is wide. You catch much more. When you stress about grammar, you are tightening the net. You are closing your mind. When you relax and look for context, you are widening the net. You are opening your mind to the flow of information. Let's recap the entire strategy we have built through Leo's story and our lessons today. Step 1. Look. Use your eyes. Body language, location, objects. These are your anchors. The weather tells you cold. The machine tells you ticket. Step 2. Listen for the music. Tone, pitch, emotion. Is it a question? Is it a joke? Is it angry? Is it flim-flam, exciting, or sad? Step 3. Predict. Prime your brain. If you are at a cafe, expect coffee words. If you are at a doctor, expect health words. If you are calling tech support, expect unplug it. Step 4. Verify. Use logic. Does this make sense? If you heard elephant in a bank, you probably misheard. It was probably relevant. If you heard dogs eating dogs, it is a metaphor. Step 5. Connect. Interact with people. Ask for clarification. Use filler words. Nod. Smile. Be part of the dance. If you do these 5 things, you will find that English slows down. It becomes less like a wall of noise and more like a puzzle that you are solving piece by piece. It becomes fun. And that is the secret. When you enjoy listening, you do it more. And when you do it more, you get better. It is a positive cycle. I want to leave you with a final thought about Leo. Leo is a fictional character, but he represents all of us. He represents me when I was learning a second language. He represents you. He represents the courage it takes to leave your comfort zone and build a life in a new soundscape. Be proud of that courage. Every time you turn on this podcast, every time you watch a video without subtitles, every time you speak to a stranger, you are doing something difficult and brave. You are expanding your world. So next time you are in a conversation and you miss a word, I want you to smile. I want you to think, aha, a mystery. I want you to look at the person's hands, look at their eyes, look at the room, and I want you to say to yourself, I can figure this out. Because you can. You are a listener. You are a detective. You are fluent in context. Thank you so much for listening to this complete special edition of English in Fluency. It has been a pleasure to guide you through the mechanics of listening. I hope you feel lighter. I hope you feel less pressure. I hope you are excited to go out there and listen to the world. My name is Alex. This has been English in Fluency. If you enjoyed this journey, please share it with a friend who is struggling with listening. Send it to someone who feels like they need to translate every word. Tell them there is a better way. Tell them to become a detective. And now I have one final call to action for you. A challenge for the rest of your life. Never stop guessing. Never stop being curious. When you hear a sound you don't know, lean in, look closer. Ask why. The answer is right there in front of you, hiding in plain sight. You just have to open your eyes and trust your ears. Keep listening. Keep learning. And most importantly, keep believing in yourself. You have everything you need to understand. You are ready. Go out there and find your fluency. Goodbye for now, and happy listening.